What's up, everybody? Ben here. Today, I'm excited to show you kind of the walk around of one of the cars that we're going to start a new playlist on. This is a 2016 Yamaha YXZ 1000. It's the first year model of the Yamaha YXZ, and it was the first YXZ that I ever owned. Story time here. Whenever the side-by-side craze kind of started taking off for sport side-by-sides and riding in the dunes, I had a couple of Wildcats. There's basically a way for my family to start riding and instead of riding in my lap of my four-wheeler. So we had a couple of Wildcats, and then we had the kids got their own sand, you know, like a Raptor 90 right here and stuff like that, their own things. And so one day when Yamaha dropped the announcement of the YXZ 1000 coming out, the status quo at the time for the industry was the Razor XP 1000. This was before turbo cars even started coming out. And so the YXZ was a pretty good competitor, in my opinion, to the XP 1000 at the time, the XP 1K as the nickname. By today's standards, everything about the YXZ is inferior from a stock car, but I had a lot of fun with this thing. I got one in late 2016 and hit the ground running. I just did I made some cosmetic changes because I didn't like the blue fenders in the back with everything else being white on the major parts. And then so I immediately put cage, harness, and I think I did an Alba pipe and power commander, stuff like that. And it kept going. Had some 28-inch sand tires, unlimited, that I really liked, and had that for about a year or so at that build, and kept adding little parts here and there. But then one day I decided I was gonna boost it, and after talking to several different shops, all the big names that are still prevalent today, I decided to send my motor to Weller Racing and buy their, at the time it was the Weller Racing RPM turbo kit, and buy that kit, and they shipped me my motor back, and I did a big tear down, and I put the flat black plastics on it from the 2017 SSSE models that had come out by then. And so I did this build in 2018, and I just had a blast with it. It was awesome. At the time, it was really fast and so much fun to drive. I think I ran about 15 pounds of boost, and in 2018, this car was just killer. I loved it. So fast forward another couple years, the year's 2020, and I wanted to go ham with this thing, but it was becoming increasingly less friendly to dune. So I built a second car for my daughter, and I put the flat black plastics on that car, and hers was an SS. She was 16 years old at this time and ready to start driving her own side-by-side, so got her that one. I built this one more. I got other plastics. I painted it, put the FCI doors and bed delete, and wanted to go more and more power and more of a drag focus on the car. But like I say, it made it less drivable for the dunes. And this year was 2020 when I did this build. And what happened was I couldn't get my hands on the parts I really wanted in a timely manner. We kind of had a deadline because there was a big event coming to Winoka that year. The UTV takeover was in that September. So I had to have this thing built for, you know, my family to go riding. And so we kind of pushed the deadline and had we settled on the GYTR kit with a power commander to control it. Weller Racing was helping me a lot with this. Their team, mostly Kyle at that time, was helping me with both of these cars. So I took the RPM turbo kit off of this car, put it on my daughter's red and black car on a stock motor, so that was like 7-8 pounds of boost. And then I had this motor built again because I messed it up. I think I've blown the motor like 3-4 times. And then we put the GYTR kit on it, and we just had trouble fueling it enough and controlling it enough with a power commander at 20-25 pounds of boost or something like that. It was just, we never got the tuning right. We were rushing. Weller Racing is in Arizona, like the Phoenix area in Chandler, Arizona. And of course, I live in Lubbock, Texas, but I ride in Winoka, Oklahoma. And so all of the logistics of all this was hard. And so the car ran, it was okay, but we never got the tune quite right. And then, aside from that, the YXZ, the whole platform was still crippled by the ridiculousness of the drivetrain being a problem. There was 3 or 4 different rear differential options available at the time, but every one of them broke. None of them were reliable. So I still broke differentials like almost every time I went out. So that was a running joke in my group. So it didn't really matter if my motor ran well or not, because I would break differentials almost immediately at like the first ride. So, and not even riding hard. It was just, they were just a problem. So I think most of it was because of running big paddles. So what happened is I needed a more reliable car. We were going to Glamis and stuff more often, and I couldn't risk getting out there and breaking, miles out in the deep Glamis with my kids with me, or with the rest of my friends group. So what we did is there was a guy, Alec Ward, on the YXZ Addicts page that was interested in purchasing a Yamaha, and he kind of had his parameters set, the things that he wanted. And my car fit without the power commander and without the GYTR turbo kit. So what we ended up settling on is made him a good deal, but it was a non-running car. He had a complete chassis, he had a built motor, but I took the turbo system off and I took the power commander electronics out. So these are some photos of the day I delivered it to him. And so I bought an X3 from one of my friends, and I was riding my X3 for about a year. And this YXZ went to Alec. And within like 2 months, he had a K&T upgraded turbo kit on it with a standalone system and showing like dyno sheets online. I think it was about 350 wheel horsepower at the time. I think that's what it still is. And did all the big stuff that I really wanted to do with the car, and I just never could pull it off. And so he had the work done at Phoenix Speed, PSI. I think that's Phoenix Speed Industries. They're in Peoria, Arizona, so just right on the other side of Phoenix. That's their logo there. Phoenix Speed is, let's see, Jason Wolf and Moses Garcia, I think, are the two that are partners in that place. And Moses does the tuning and stuff. And so this is, as you see it today, this is the way Alec built it. So that's the K&T turbo kit. He experimented with a different exhaust. At one point it came out right here. That's why the metal guard is on the plastics. And it was straight pipe, just straight out of the downpipe. It dumped up top, and it was too loud. So they ended up putting a muffler on it and dumping it back here. So I'll probably change that. I don't love that, but I don't hate it. I'll ride it, and we'll see how it goes. He changed these paddles. He put on some Scat Track diggers. These are some pretty big Scat Tracks. And he had never even tuned them, from what I understand. They just mounted and been in his shop. So when I sold it to him, he had some STU 1300 plus on these Kaiser wheels, non-bead lock. And then these are some STU big smoothies up front. These are very lightweight front tires. And also on the Chrysler non-bead lock wheels. It still has NXS designs, long travel. When I first had this car in the early days, like when I built it that first time in 2018, I switched the plastics to black and I put a Fireball long travel kit on it, and liked it. Didn't really have a problem with Fireball, but I wanted to experiment with NXS whenever I did the build again. So when I painted the car blue and built my daughter's black and red car, I put NXS designs on this car and on her car. I was considering doing the titanium NXS designs at the time, but availability was a problem. And like I said, I had some time pressure to get it done. And Matt Ling's company, NXS Designs, if you order the titanium kit, they don't necessarily stock them. So you have to wait for them to build it. And of course, it's super expensive. But my biggest problem is it was going to take like a couple of months. Whereas he had two of the I guess it's chromoly or some other type of tube steel, whatever it is. He had two of those kits sitting on the shelf. So I just bought those two and ran with it. So I know I'm gonna put some mild changes on it now before I even really start riding it, but it's a good running machine from what I understand. I've never even ridden it since I got it. So still has the big shocks. These are the Fox 3.0 shocks in the back. These are upgraded front factory shocks, Weller's valving and stuff for NXS Designs. This is the NXS Designs titanium tie rods on this car. So I'm gonna leave those. Those are nice and lightweight. They're very lightweight. Couple of things I know I'm gonna change is I wanna put the STU 1300 pluses back on. Yeah, I got those, so I'm gonna put those on the back. Alec is a taller guy than I am, so he put in these other seats, and I mean, I can barely reach the pedals with that seat the way it is. He slammed it down in there as low as it'll go and stuff. So I'm gonna swap the seats. I have a matching steering wheel for the seats that I have, so I'm gonna swap that. And I'm going to delete all the lights. He has some cool white lights and stuff on the engine bay and things. I'll light it up here in a minute. And it looks pretty and all, but I'm gonna take this car to much more of a drag focus because I have all my other cars for duning and stuff. So I'm gonna delete the skid plates. I'm gonna delete the lights. I'm gonna delete the any of the unnecessary electronics. And I think the biggest change I'm gonna make, cosmetically at least, from visually, but the biggest weight change I'm gonna make also is I'm gonna delete the shocks. I'm gonna get some of those drag shocks. I think Marvin Shaw makes small billet shocks for the YXZ platform. Or I think some guys are even just putting like a aluminum bar in place of the front shocks or something like that. Maybe not in the rear, but whatever. I'm gonna delete that because these shocks in the back, they are dozens of pounds. They're very heavy. Big springs, big shocks, big reservoirs. Anyways, so I'm gonna delete those shocks. So it's gonna slam it, and I'll get rid of the lights. I think I'm gonna keep the roof just because the sun is brutal, but also the Sand Outlaw series requires roofs anyways. And speaking of that, I don't know if I'm ever gonna really try to be competitive. I don't know if I wanna put in that kind of work. It is so difficult to be competitive in the racing classes, especially with the Sand Outlaw series. Those are the fastest UTVs on the planet. They are amazing, and they're all within like a tenth of a second at every race. They're so close. So if you're 3/10 or 4/10 out, you're light years behind the competition. You're not even in the top 10 on those things. It's unbelievable how fast they are and how consistent they are in the Sand Outlaw series. And I'm not sure if I'm willing to put in the work and travel to that series and try to be competitive in it. What I really want to do is just have a drag-focused YXZ that is something I keep at America's Oasis in Winoka. And it is kind of my show pony for the drag strip, you know. we will have racing events there from time to time, and night grudge races and stuff like that. And I want to be able to go out there and put on a good show and have fun with this car. And it's special to me because this is my first YXZ, and it's had so many build, versions over the years. And so I'm going to have fun with it. And I'm just thrilled with what Alec did to it. He put that KNT turbo kit on it with the Motec that Moses tuned. I'm super excited about that, and looking forward to getting out there and running it a little bit. So this is just the intro video, or kind of a re-intro video for this one. And you'll see some new videos for it, some progress videos on the build for it for the on YouTube playlist here. But right now I'm going to get started with removing the skid plates, and I'm going to start snipping off some of these lights and electronics and stuff like that, and swapping out the seats. And also I already have a Proformance rear differential on the way. Alan Anderson has one for me, and I've got to send him this drive shaft, but he modifies the drive shafts to fit those Proformance differentials. So that's it. Just kind of a story time, the background on my YXZ story, and then also kind of feel like I'm bringing one home here, and look forward to showing y'all what this thing does and what it looks like. And if you're ever at America's Oasis during a racing event, you might recognize it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.